Okay, you want to get started? Okay, we'll get started with finance. As far as roll call, everyone's here except Alderman Smith. Approval of the minutes, previous minute committee meeting Tuesday, August 6th. I'll make a motion. Want a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, monthly finance and bills. Did everybody have a chance to look through their bills? Okay, I just have a couple questions. Under buildings and a couple other places, let's see, Richard Peck for 2,700 some. All the monies for the sidewalk and things, is that coming out of the account for the farmer's market since it's tied into the farmer's market?
That was for storm sewer repair.
This is Times Square.
Yeah. Storm sewer?
Yeah, we had a discharge line in the building that we had to replace.
Okay.
And they had to dig up the sidewalk. It's hard to find a contractor to do cement work in a short period of time, so we hired Richard 3 times the material.
Yeah, it would say Lincoln Square if it was over at Lincoln Park. So it's Times Square.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. And I was asked by a couple folks, I see the cat spraying and operation of the pets in a neuter clinic. How are we doing on the cat nippers?
We are, they're active, and they've been giving us bills, and right now, we've got some discrepancies,
Okay.
and Michiko's working with them on the discrepancies in the billing. They seem to be billing us twice, so we're keeping a close watch on that, but we've been very active so far. Probably 15 or 20 cats have been neutered
Oh, good.
and and then released back. So it's starting to work. We're getting more and more calls all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we are keeping a close watch on the building and questioning it. So
They're not charging us to catch it and then charging us to release it again, are they?
that's Michiko's actually put together a spreadsheet now, so we can make
Right.
sure, because each cat is given a name by them. So that's how it's tracked.
Yeah.
So we're taking a very close look at that, making sure that, we just got another bill today for $500 and some,
Okay.
which a lot of it is duplication of what we just did, so.
Mm-hmm.
How much do we, refresh my memory, how much do we allocate for this
I
project?
think 5,000.
We
Five?
had almost 5 that we placed into a capital project for this from last year, and we allocated another 5,000 for the current budget.
Okay.
So
That's good.
I was
we
wondering,
can get you exact numbers on that.
Okay, she was just curious how it's going.
maybe I'll talk to you, Bill. I know they're really in the thick of it right now, but maybe after the season, it might be nice to have Jamie Lawrence come in and the cat nippers and do a presentation on how kind of lessons learned and how the program went.
Yeah.
Because I know I've had a lot of residents reaching out and
Mm-hmm.
There's been some, there's been some difficulties with it.
right.
Jamie has, she's trying to get people to train in this area here. They do have a couple that have been trained, but it's a process, and we're moving along through it. So.
Good.
Good. Okay, another question, with our outside counsel, can we at some point, not tonight, but at some point, have an update on how that's going?
Yes.
Okay, that's a good question. Anybody else have any other questions, finance? No? Okay. Let's see, unfinished business, none. New referrals, none. Approval. Do we need any approval? Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Hand it over to Kelly.
Okay, I will call to order the Public Safety Committee for Tuesday, August 20, 2019. Let the record show all aldermen are present with the exception of Alderman Smith. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from Tuesday, July 16th. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman George. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unfinished business. The first item, we don't have unfinished, so the new referrals. The parking issue on the 800 block of Bishop Street. I'll talk a little bit, and then there's also one of the neighbors, unrelated but sort of related to the parking issues on Bishop, 7 and 800 block, present here tonight. I got a call about Bishop Street. The 800 block, for those that aren't aware, is the block, if you're coming up King, it's the first when you're making that block of Bishop Street. That street is in very, very, very poor condition. My understanding is that that whole street will be redone next year. That being said, there's lots of parking that takes up that whole side of the 800 block there. I sent you pictures. One of the residents is having issues pulling out of her driveway. There's a pole there from the pictures that you can see. She pulls her truck up, it goes to the left there. Even though the truck's parked to the left, that's not, they've made that a driveway, but she can't pull out of there because there's a curb there. We're open to suggestions. I threw out a possible curb cut. You know, she was interested in, I mean, extreme would be banning parking in that block. Less extreme would be any ideas anyone would have, whether it be striping spots. I have a resident actually here, unrelated to this, but saw this on the referral and wanted to talk a little bit about some of the safety issues that came up this summer with an ambulance trying to get down that street, not being able to do that, having to back up, and the fire truck come a different way because of parking, perhaps changing the parking to the other side of the street. Do you want to share anything, Amy?
Well, so my husband needed the ambulance back in June, and like Kelly had said, the ambulance and the fire truck came down Chestnut to take a right onto Bishop, so heading east. And there's cars that are parked right there. Even my little car, I have to jam the truck, to turn. So I can't imagine them having a more difficult time. So that if you switch it to the south side, so currently it's on the north side, Bishop. If you switch it to the south side, it would eliminate that. It would eliminate her problem, Kim's problem, backing out. And then I have a hydrant in front of my house, so normally we can't get anybody to park there, so this would also then free up space, and the hydrant's free and clear. I didn't know what the concern was on 800 Bishop, so that's why I came, that's the only reason why I came, but I figured I'd share that.
So I mean, I'm open to suggestions. Bishop is a narrow street, just like many of our other smaller streets. There is two-way traffic there. It's not one way. And if there's parking, I'm going to be honest, the mayor knows even in his block, it's impossible to get two cars both ways. From the beginning of the houses, if you're coming from King to the stop sign, nobody parks there. That's not an issue. It's when the first house starts all the way down. I mean, I'm open for suggestions, anything anyone has, from striping to banning parking, which I'm not sure that that's the way to go, to moving it to the other side of the street.
Well, I think if there's an issue with public safety, I think that's something we should have Chief Rowley and Chief Bell look at. Because we've had this problem with other streets that are very narrow, and we've either eliminated one side parking, had everybody park on the other side, and you're going to get people that agree with that or disagree with it. But I think it comes down to public safety as far as the ambulance goes. As far as the curbing, I did look at the pictures. So there's a driveway, and then there's the left side. Okay, now I was told when I put my driveway in, you couldn't go more than 14 feet. So if it's within that 14 feet, they could do a curb cut. They're, what, $100 a foot? So that's, but I don't know how wide that is. Just a thought.
Well, it looks like their second area where they park was probably put in after, because you can see obviously where the driveway is there and where the curb cut is. And this been wearing away the curb by driving over it there. So, like if it's within the 14 feet, you could ask for the additional curb cut, but with that one, but you got to be careful, because if you were to shift parking in the 700 block where I live, and people parked across from my driveway, I couldn't get out.
So that's the.
So you got to be very careful. It's a juggling act.
It is, and I think that's her issue. She can't. So it was interesting. I went down 3 or 4 times to try and catch lots of traffic. I just didn't go down at night, but late at night. So like this was just the other day, I went back down because I forgot about the telephone pole. Nobody was parked there. But when people are parked there, she can't get out of her driveway. Same thing. And her truck is almost the exact same as yours.
Yeah,
So,
it's difficult because it is a narrow street.
One way.
Is this new development, or is this something that's always been?
One way,
problem?
but
so,
if it went all the way over the front, then that would be ideal to have it one way, because you'd have Garden one way and then you could have Bishop, but it doesn't, so,
Kind of get stuck in this little like paradigm.
yeah.
so Mimi, you've probably lived there longer. I mean, I think Scanlon's has lived there. Well, she has.
22 years.
Yeah. I think it's gotten worse because there's a house that's of grave concern in that block that brings several issues of public safety. And I think random times of day, there could be as many as 15 pulling up for. So I think it's progressively gotten worse, and it also changes my understanding from some surveillance or things that are done. It changes the first of the month. It changes at night. Different things like that. So I think it's been brought to light, and also I think Mimi can attest, the condition of the street has gotten worse in the last couple of years.
And it's exactly right in the driveway.
And they've had an increase. I did talk to Chief Rowley last week. He said there is an increase of accidents in that block. I think your car got totaled a year ago. And there's an increase of traffic due to a residence that's of issue. Interestingly enough, what's different about this house than Garden or some other issues is there's really not rentals there. They're all single-family homes. Some of them are being rented, but they're not apartment dwellings, so there's not several people renting without a driveway. They have to necessarily park. It's convenient, so there's parking, but it's a unique situation.
Yeah.
So just a question, that must be like a shared curb cut there?
No,
That's going on?
that's their house. The driveway is the real driveway, and then off to the left is where they do that second car.
Okay.
Mhm.
So is that an actual drive, or is that just kind of,
It looks like it is
So that's
themselves.
part grass, part stones that have come up through.
okay.
That's not asphalt?
No.
Yeah, that's what it looked a
No,
little bit like
it's
that.
not.
Almost
It's
looked like a
gravel.
driveway without a curb cut.
It's
kind of.
gravel.
It's
Gravel?
gravel and grass.
Yeah, I drove by. Yeah. Well, and the other thing, I go back to Chief Rowley and Chief Bell. I mean, obviously there's a situation there that they need to get a handle on, especially with that number of cars there. And then as far as the safety of the ambulance getting through, that's on Chief Bell, the two of them.
Well, I will say, Bob, where this happened to Mimi's husband, there were no parking signs, but they were up, but they weren't colored, like they were white. So he did go down and replace those signs. Apparently we didn't go far enough because now that person is now pulling right up to that, which is making it just as bad on that turn, but we can look at that.
Adjustment of motion. So the signals
Sunshine.
came north and couldn't turn
Yes.
right because of the car on the
Yep.
outside.
And you put those signs up, which should have helped, except for now they're pulling right up to the sign. Which might help.
Provide a wider turn radius?
Yeah, I have
Is that
a
what it
man
means?
that will mock the fire truck turning.
Oh, so that would be good.
You know, and then that time we're replacing the sign.
And it's not an issue from King to Bishop because literally there's not a house for quite a while. But if they're coming down to make it the quickest way, they're coming down Chestnut. So, just an issue. I mean, I'm open
We
for
ticketed some of my
suggestions.
constituents
I'll
for
definitely give her the
gravel.
curb cut. I'll have Chief Bell take a look at, I don't know, Bob, you were away, which is understandable, to look at if we moved parking to the other side. But if we just did it on 800, that's an idea but then you've got parking on 700. I don't think that makes sense because people
I
will be
think
double parked
yeah,
and
that would be
Mhm.
confusing.
so.
Right now, there's no parking on one side?
That's on Mimi's side,
No, the other side.
the other side?
Her side of the street.
Yeah, Mimi's side of the street.
No,
South side is not. parking.
where Mimi is, you couldn't park. Where the person that's having the issue is on the other side.
Gotcha.
The north side. And is it the north side all the way down the street? Is it the same?
Yes.
Want to
And
bring
I'm
Bishop right to front, Doc?
I'm thinking out
Is that-
loud, but.
Take
I
Bishop
think
right to
if
front?
we moved it
Yeah.
even in his block though,
And then
Well,
maybe.
you'd have
Ambulance
to, you'd have
and
to acquire
fire truck would have
property.
trouble
Okay.
going down Orchard and making that
I
turn.
mean,
Mhm.
that would be
Because those are
ideal,
tight
because then you could
streets.
have,
In fact, if I was
you'd
an
have
ambulance and fire
Bishop
truck.
the other, going the other way,
Yeah.
you know, but.
Yeah.
Any other suggestions on anything?
But the mayor had said if you switch it, then other people have problems, because then I'm thinking my husband and Bob McBride both have trucks. They have the same thing coming out of
Coming
them.
out of the drive.
Or people that might pay for plow service. A lot of people. We had that issue on even Henley Street when we talked about it. It was just a lot of the neighbors were concerned if you switch parking from one way to another. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can't get plow
I
from
know
switch.
you said something about striping, I mean, that would be lovely, but then he's probably gonna not listen to it anyhow, but maybe at least it'll assist with having nobody park on that public radius to start.
And I know that Bishop's on the docket for perhaps next year, but if we start striking parking spots, it's pretty nice too, so I don't know. Be the best solution. but-
Yeah, I probably want to strike because it's shared space, parking space and driveway
Mhm.
on streets that are like one
Could
feet
you
wide.
just put like by the fire hydrant, put just Xing, meaning not park there, as well as just that X right here, you know, the turn?
Right by a sign.
Then who cares?
We're supposed to be there.
Is that an issue? Is that what they're doing, they're blocking the fire hydrant?
I've lived there 22 years, and we had parked in front of that hydrant. And last 2 weeks ago, my daughter got ticketed. So that was the other issue I was going to bring up, saying, hey, are you guys policing that more? Obviously, all the neighbors do park in front of it, but if it's a concern and it is called into the police department, then obviously we would stop. But, maybe that would help people park better if there was something indicating.
Well, the law, you can't park within 15 feet of a fire hydrant, so, yeah.
Which reminds me, when I talked to Chief Riley, I said, what is the law regarding parking right up on somebody's driveway?
Mhm.
And there isn't any.
No.
But that's something
That's
that
true.
you could enact as a council within 3 feet of the driveway, or,
Reasonable turn.
Because there's a driveway right across the street.
it
that
makes
can
it
help her.
difficult. I get the same thing
Yeah.
in my house, they
Yeah.
park right up tight to the driveway, it
Can't
makes
swing
it
out.
tough getting out, so.
Mhm.
So maybe that's one.
I think that's on every street.
Yeah.
And in some issues, you also have places where there's very little subway between curb cuts. So if you knock down 3 feet or whatever, and all of a sudden you just took a 7-foot space between driveways where you could have, or an 8-foot spot where you could have parked a vehicle, you just eliminated one parking spot off the street.
Agreed. They
If
would
she
definitely
can't go
cut
that
out
way
a lot
on
of
the
spaces
driveway,
north
something
of
will
Yeah,
happen.
that,
Okay.
they would.
I'll talk to Chief Bell and
North
Chief
Union.
Raleigh again and maybe touch base with Bob. The second discussion request came, and I have someone here to discuss it. In the last probably week to 2 weeks, I know they've called Tiffany's office, they may have called the mayor, several parents and family members and coaches have called regarding smoking in different parks and play areas that youth sports are involved with. I sent a picture from one of the families that sent me a picture from Saturday or Sunday's game of youth sports where they're smoking right on where the kids play. I reached out, did some research, talked to Tiffany. The parks all have signs that say young lungs at play, so we don't ban smoking in any of our parks, or playgrounds, but those signs are there. I reached out, it's never an issue at Bradner's during high school games because of the school drug thing. There's a designated area they all do. So I reached out to the owner of the Oilers to say, is this an issue that you have during Oilers games? And the response was no, because they said they have a similar sign there somewhere.
We have signs up at the stadium say no smoking.
So-
There's another issue, and I'll bring it up in a few
Okay.
minutes there, so.
And they actually announce it during
Yeah.
their games to not smoke. So there's one of the families, and they were going to come, but the woman is elderly, has COPD, and they've had to leave every sporting event because they're smoking right as the parents are sitting along the sidelines. And I don't know if you would like to speak, Amber?
We have several girls, so I'm the cheer coach, and we have several girls that have asthma on our squad. And so when they have to walk by a cloud of smoke to get to practice, it is very disruptive for them. And they, like coughing issues or, like having a hard time breathing, those things. I think if you could do like a designated smoking area, if you can't ban it altogether, I at least do a designated smoking area on the opposite side where those dikes are at. Like where there's like a brown little hut thing that our concession stand, like on that side, but over, you know, at least for the football season. I know that that does then create a problem for the baseball season because there are baseball fields right there, but it is, you know, we've had complaints. We've had parents complain. We've had, you know, coaches complain, and even when they sit there and they do it in their car, they're still parked right there, and so you still have to walk by there, you know, and it's just.
And I think the issue of the weekend from two of the families that reached out to me is that they're doing it while the children are playing, so it's distracting also to the presenter. I also reached out to the president of the youth sports, who was wonderful to deal with, and they do announce it and they do bring it up at their board meeting that it's in their bylaws that they're not to partake in that activity during a game. So I said I'd bring it up, and you know, Amber's been gracious to say, you know, anything on a scale from banning to designated area. Some of them are calling total ban and others are saying designated area. So I said I would bring it forward.
Yeah, well, one of the issues that I saw at the City Cup this year was the use of tobacco products. And I had one individual who kept turning his head and was spitting. So I walked over and I said, hey, come on, have some decency, have some respect for the facility. He was spitting, he was chewing. And I said, somebody's got to clean it up, we got to walk through that. And you know, he could care less. So I think it's coming to a point now, at least in the stadium where we have crowds, that we should ban all tobacco use and vaping.
Vaping's a big thing.
All tobacco products. Every school in the country has that now. So, and we could do it in our parks. You know, it's. I know we do have young lungs that play, and I believe the council years ago banned smoking in the playground areas.
You looked
I
it up
looked.
for
There's
me.
nothing in the
I think
code.
it's just the lungs, young.
Yeah, there's nothing in the code about it, so if they did ban it, it was never an ordinance, so I don't know how enforceable that would be.
Yeah. But we also have, remember we have that group that comes to see us every year. Yeah, that they've been after us to do something more in our parks. And I think you know, it's the smoking's bad enough, and I sympathize with the young people because it's you know, you got to walk through that, and you know, it's just look at the problem we have on Union Street with all the cigarette butts.
Yeah.
But now vaping is becoming the next one. We had to get up and move at the City Cup down to Forness because two guys were sitting on the end of the bleachers vaping.
Yeah.
And so.
And I think that was the issue from the two families. They just got up and had to leave the game because it was.
Yeah.
So
I received a complaint on the smokers over here at the concerts. One lady says she has asthma real bad. She had to get up and leave because we're smoking at the concerts there. So maybe it's time wherever there's public gathering to take a look at that and look at. It'd be tough to have designated areas. I know you have to go off school grounds.
yeah.
Anywhere you go now with
Yeah.
schools, you have to go off. You know.
Well, it's like the hospital crossing the street
Yeah.
at the gas station smoking.
Yeah.
You know, it's like.
What do
For the
we
window.
have in place as far as our facilities go? Even the municipal building, could someone stand out front and smoke on the steps?
On the steps, yeah.
Because many organizations today are going to the entire facilities.
Yeah.
I don't know, is Cutco
Tobacco-free campus.
tobacco-free campus?
Mhm.
I know our
So is Bonaventure, so is Dresser Rand,
Right.
so is Dresser Bradford, I mean,
Yep, the hospital.
Pitt Bradford is not.
really?
We
Were you
like
smoking
Zippo.
restaurants there?
We're big fans of Zippo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's only the latest.
Well, with one, there goes another, so. yeah.
See, if they have good vaping, you don't need a lighter.
But to that point, I mean, is that something, not only maybe parks, but is other
City-owned property.
Yeah.
City-owned property.
We have it as city vehicles too.
Yeah.
Can't smoke in a
Okay.
city vehicle.
So-
That was enacted back a while ago, so maybe the time has come, yeah.
you lump it in as, say it's all municipal facilities.
I think too, putting signs up there would take, I'm just thinking like, I've gotten screamed at several times, for bringing these issues up, or have gotten looks like you wouldn't believe. for bringing these up, even as one of our coaches, you know. And so I think that even eliminating that would also eliminate that pressure off of, you know, your, any coach that's out there that has to go up to a person and say no smoking and ask them to leave. It is reinforced by these signs as well, so.
And reality check might sponsor the signs. I know they said that when they
Yeah,
brought their
we
stuff
talked about that, yeah.
to do there. And it would, you know, you're exactly right with the littering and trying to clean up the city.
Some of your parks I've noticed on your website say that they are a smoke-free park. Florence, I don't believe was one of those though.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for
Yes, thank
coming.
you so much.
And I think that's something for further discussion.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, I think it's just
Take
like
care.
anything else, you need
Thank
to look at maybe what other municipalities have as far as policies go. And again, I mean, it's really whatever maybe the consensus, from the mayor and the council, whether or not is it something that parks, need to be focused or entire, all facilities?
Reality checks, one of the resolutions that they keep referring us to is Jamestown did this with all of their parks, and they have a fine in place, and, you know, if you are smoking in the parks or using tobacco products, I believe. So, but you know, you know, that was quite, I mean, it just shocked me so much that he would just turn his head and keep spitting, and then it was like nothing to him. You know, so, and you know, and I come right out and said, you know, it's because of people like you that we're probably going to institute, you know, no tobacco use. He could have cared less. You know.
And I piggyback off John, I think if we're gonna look at parks and playgrounds, we need to look at all city-owned facilities.
Yep. Now, are we gonna run into an issue with the union folks?
No, I don't think so, because we're right now, we have no
We've brought it
smoking
up
in the
before.
buildings. In the buildings, they have to go outside to smoke.
Well, my point is, someone going outside and standing on the front steps isn't making it inviting to people that have to come through. Because I walk by people from the court standing out there smoking. So it has to be further away than just out by the door.
Right, but if somebody has to go smoke and you ban it from all city parks and municipal buildings, they walk from the municipal building. Where's the nearest place they go? The park. So then they got to walk past. They got to walk like 3 blocks on a smoke break, or if they've got court.
Across the
All we're
street right
doing
out
is
there.
moving the smokers around.
Yeah.
Just moving them from the park to in front of the Beef and Barrel, and then the Beef and Barrel will complain, we'll say no smoking on North Union Street, and then they'll move over here, and it's not curbing smoking. I mean, outdoors. What are you gonna do? Like,
Because I like to look at the devil's advocate, you know, because Nate's not here. I mean, is it rude to smokers that because you're enjoying a nice fresh breath of fresh air that they have to walk away to go enjoy their
But
smoke?
here's the deal,
Right, like-
my fresh air isn't bothering them,
Yep.
but perhaps I have a medical condition or a little child has a medical condition.
Like
They can't be
asthma.
around it, so it is infringing. It's your right to smoke.
Right.
Absolutely, we're not saying that, but.
As long as your rights don't infringe on someone else's rights.
Right. Well, what if I'm very stressed? I need a cigarette. It's a medical condition. I can get it prescribed. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there.
No
I just.
doctor would ever prescribe.
I always hate, like,
Let's go
I
ahead, let's
don't.
go ahead, let's go ahead and get a pulmonologist. Do we have an expert that we
Yeah,
might
we
know?
do.
Phone a friend. I'm not even a smoker. Like, I don't like.
Don't get him started.
I just hate when somebody creates legislation that tells somebody that, like, they can't do it. You know what I mean? And the same way, it's
We're
almost
not
as.
saying they can't.
No.
We are not saying they
Just
can't.
respect other people's
Oh, sure.
ability
But,
to
like,
breathe
I go to-
fresh air.
I go to listen to music. I don't want a cigarette and a beer, but a lot of people do. I want the beer, but a lot of people want a cigarette and a smoke and a drink.
But do you
They
take
go-
your baby with you to a concert like that?
Well, at the park, they have rock bands up there. I'll take my baby to the rock
Yeah,
band.
but you don't want him around someone that's smoking or vaping or spitting out
I'm,
chew
not-
stuff.
I'm hoping they're not spitting on my child, but I mean,
No, but the whole
Well, you
point
know
is
what?
it's
I don't know how many years ago, the health department banned smoking in public facilities, and then it went to the bars and you know, every place. And back then, the world was going to come to an end, you
And it
know, and people's businesses were going to close down because they weren't going to, you know, especially bars. People weren't going to be allowed to smoke in bars, so businesses were going to close down. You know what? It didn't happen. And
I don't know.
Do we, Bill, what's the rules, what does the county do? County facilities?
no smoking.
And you have to go
On
so far
premises
away,
or in
but
buildings?
They also have,
Yeah.
like, if you go to the county building, they
Yeah.
have a designated area.
They
You have
do.
to
Yeah,
walk.
they gotta
through
walk
it.
out to the, they gotta walk out to the parking, or
Yes.
to the,
And they have a glass
Yeah.
enclosed area for them.
I thought that was a bus stop.
that was a bus stop.
Oh, but
Yeah.
they have,
Okay.
they have ashtrays in there and that's where they're all
Yeah, they do,
smoking,
they
so.
use it as a smoking shelter.
Yeah, so,
Well, then, I mean, maybe there's an alternative. I don't know.
it'll be interesting, cause, you know, Bob will have an article in the paper and we'll get some feedback on it.
I'm sure we
I mean,
will.
there's a lot of us out there that like the world keeps getting more and more restrictive, and we're just waiting for it to hit a point where everyone's just like, all right, enough's enough, and we start pulling the restrictions away. It's kind of like, okay, then all of a sudden bars are allowed to smoke in again, and then you can smoke in restaurants again. Eventually it will go the opposite direction. I'm just waiting
Well,
for
thank
it.
you guys
Thanks,
for
Kat.
that.
Thanks, Kat.
We have no approval of committee reports, and so I'll make a motion to adjourn. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Crawford, all in favor?
Aye.
Stop it.
All you.
Okay, I'll call to order strategic planning for Tuesday, August 20th. Let the record show that all committee members are present, with the exception of Alderman Smith, who is excused. I will make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous committee meeting, which was held on May 21st, 2019. Can I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Andriano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Item 3 is unfinished business, which there are none. Item 4, new referrals. Item A is properties received from Tech County, 405 South 4th, 1013 Washington, and 303 East Elm.
So these are the three properties that were, that we asked for from the county, and I believe the title transfers, deed transfers have gone through now, and I guess I'm bringing this up as an opportunity to kickstart the efforts to continue demoing or demolishing, getting rid of these cancerous properties in our neighborhoods. And they're lovely. So first is the property that I believe, is it next to the park?
Yes.
Is that
Yeah,
Forness?
yeah, this is the one next to, Franchise Park.
Oh, franchise.
And this would be a nice, this would, the reason, one of the reasons we asked for this property, if you remember, was because it will give us the ability to expand the parking lot for that end of the park and on the South 4th Street entrance there. That's heavy, gets a lot of use, especially during baseball season. And you know, and also when the large pavilion is rented out down there. And this would give us probably additional, you know, it's 10 to 20 cars parking there. It would be off of the street, and wouldn't, you know, plug the street up. They park in the, if you remember, that goes down in this kind of like a little turnaround mat, and they park all over the place there. And so this would give us additional parking and expand the park a little bit.
Will we pave that?
Probably, Bob, what we probably do some millions down there. Probably put some millions in there.
What does that mean?
What's that?
What is a milling?
That's
Ground up.
the ground up.
They recycle the asphalt and then
Yep,
they sell it to you in
asphalt. And
loose
that would
pieces.
just keep it from, you know, wouldn't be muddy and that would be.
I drove by there, and it's a good sized area that would
Yeah.
really add a lot of parking. That would be a good one.
And it's not a very large structure, right?
No.
It's not a huge building, so I don't think it would be, well, who knows? But I think,
I'm
Have
always
we-
amazed at how much it is to take these down.
I know.
Have we checked this one for asbestos yet, or that would be the first step?
I don't think anything's been really done with these properties,
Okay.
yet. We had to get the title. Nick, is that all through now?
We had, I believe we are getting the deeds. I don't think we have received all of the deeds yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the
So
first
we
one,
get the deeds.
I think the
We didn't
first
get
one
the
that you probably
deeds,
said
they've
City
been
of Olean.
It
countersigned.
does say.
And he
it says
did
it on these
sign the
websites.
tax paperwork. So we're just waiting for the filing to come back at this point.
Okay, so it is filed, just waiting for the paperwork to come back.
Real properties takes 30 days after the county clerks record the deeds. We just don't have possession.
So this is the meth house and drug house on Washington Street. Again, it's a very small, narrow house, but it's a very small yard. The neighborhood would drastically be improved if that were gone as well. And then the last one, and this one is kind of a large structure, and it is pretty gross.
No, you got it.
Oh.
Is this the one that had the tarp over it?
Three.
I didn't get it?
No, you're
303.
303 Elm Street. It's just a big
Yeah,
yellow
no,
one.
that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Has a tarp over it?
That's the beauty.
Mhm.
It's years.
It could. The entire second floor hallway that runs the length of the building is completely like, it's got this like weird, Where's Waldo pitch to it.
Yeah, this thing has to go.
Mhm.
So how do we expedite this? How do we get back on the? You know, I'm all gung ho over this. So what do we need to do? What's the process?
Also, the lot to the left, I don't believe is part of the property's parcel because it's a paper street.
To this side, right?
Yeah, it's a nice, being
Well,
nice little
we
spot.
probably have to have the,
I know one of the neighbors asked to buy it from the county.
asbestos,
Yeah, we do an asbestos survey first, and then we would, in the meantime, we would also, we have the bidding down now pretty good on this with our bid forms. I would say we go out to bid right away, even though we don't have the asbestos report back, and have them bid it both ways, hot and cold, and see what happens.
Do we need to submit anything right now, or do we wait till we get the bids back?
No, you just need to tell us where we're gonna get the money from when we get the bids back.
So I asked Fred, there is approximately $90,000 that is set aside for the demolition funding. Is there still any left over in a capital fund too, Fred, or
I
no?
included that.
Okay, so all in is $90,000.
That money was encumbered like 4 years ago. It's still sitting there, got 3 inches of dust on it.
Yeah, it's been there a while.
Is it dust worth anything?
Now, is there any chance of Carrie finding any monies out there for us?
Can she find $100,000?
She
Did
did
she
last
shake the
year.
couches on
You
the
never-
second floor waiting
You
room?
never know.
I know, I never
Never
say
say
no.
never.
Never say
You
never.
never know.
No, I spoke with the county, and then I also spoke with Alderman Crawford about this. The county land bank was set up, and we were given the offer to use them for bidding purposes, because they don't have to pay any prevailing wages or unions fees or anything like that, because they're run by the county, but they're they're a non-for-profit entity, just like was the OLDC, things like that. They can handle things municipalities can't or not are obligated to handle. So they get bids back for houses a lot lower, and that was something that
But we
We have
own,
to use our money to pay for it, and that triggers the prevailing wage.
Yeah.
What if we pay our money to, like, the land bank
We
to
own
have them done?
But we
So
own it.
we still own it.
Yeah.
does that matter?
Still use
Yes.
it.
Yeah, if our funds go,
Still our
are
money.
traced to the, project.
Can we donate them to land bank with the money to demo them? Like, I feel like that would be a smart move.
Let it
We
go,
just
Kevin. We're not-
Can't circumvent the system.
Yeah.
And the reason we asked for these three, right? The reason we wanted them way back when was because we didn't want them to go back up for auction. Like,
Right.
these are,
Right. So with the 90,000, which one would be your top priority?
This one.
this one.
this one's the biggest too. So
And
But I
the
mean, if you
meth house?
recall, when we bid them together the last time, didn't we get 4 down for 100,000? You know, I mean,
I mean, it's not unreasonable if they come back clean, that you could get them with $20,000 per house range.
sure.
That would be good.
Well, could we at least,
And we
Yeah.
also need to see what the abatement is. It might actually be cheaper for us to abate them and take them down clean than it would be to take them down hot.
so could we ask you guys to at least start
Oh,
moving
yeah.
forward on getting a survey done and?
Yep.
Do that.
That would be great. And then who's the bidding process as well?
There, we can do that.
Awesome.
Get that all.
Awesome.
Good.
So just to give you guys an update, the people on North 11th are losing their minds. They're being extremely patient, but I can't blame them. RRC now has completely gutted our previous property on North 11th Street. And like literally they had the asbestos siding ripped off, and all they're waiting for now is, I believe, a disconnect. And their demolition company is standing by. So I'm told within just a couple days, that structure on North 11th will be coming down at RRC's expense. And unfortunately, that was the structure they were going to rehabilitate, and then found out, despite everyone kind of warning them that the foundation was not very good. But long story short, it will come down. So in the next couple days.
3 weeks waiting.
And it still costs the city nothing, so that's good. Okay.
Before we close the conversation on the properties, I had a conversation with Nick earlier today about what we as a council, like the direction we want to go in as far as when we do tear down a house, right? And there's an empty lot, and we want to, what to do with that empty lot, right? If we're going to sell it to a neighbor or to a party or whatever. And I've had a constituent who's pursuing an empty lot, and there's a lot of questions that I think the council needs to answer before we can move forward with any that we should at least discuss before we move forward with any transactions. Nick, am I right here?
Yeah, I think you want to just, the local law gave you the ability to sell surplus property at a private sale.
Yes.
I think you want to have some sort of consistency in how you're handling these.
Right. So
And
some factors that we would want to consider, right? Like
the who's paying the reporting costs on the deeds? Are we supplying with them with a title search, or is that an expense that they should incur on their own, reflecting the sales price of the property? Those items, I think we need to address on how you guys want to do it.
Do we have the power to hold on an empty lot, like an annual auction on city-owned empty lots?
We could do a surplus land auction, sure.
Right after the bike sale.
Yeah, I mean, it's a similar concept, yes.
We'd save on advertising.
If somebody wanted a lot once a year, like the county does, maybe?
Yeah, the only problem I see with that, and we ran into this years ago, is we put some small pieces of property up for the city, and a lot of it went for $1, $5.
Right, and I don't
and you're
disagree
not
with
even
that.
covering the cost of what you've
Sure.
been doing to take care of it. So I'd be careful with
Yeah.
that.
But the dollar, so like, I picked up a lot at the tax auction for like $100, right? But then I'm stuck paying city, county, and school taxes on it for $300 a year. So I mean, essentially, right now, the longer the city holds it, the less $300 you're getting from the, and plus, then the county comes along and says, "Oh, by the way, you owe me $325 to record a vacant lot fee." I think that fee has then gone up.
And
But
you gotta mow it, you gotta take care of it.
And I got to maintain it, right?
For our code,
Later, I
yes.
bought the house next to it, which made it worth something to me, a little bit more than what it was. But that was all happened
It's
circumstance.
interesting.
Yeah. So there's a couple school of thoughts on that.
Yeah, you could consider a minimum bid
Yeah.
on each property too.
So, wait, by saying that, a minimum on each property, because different vacant lots would be worth different.
Right.
You
You
could
could-
say,
you
you
could
could say
set-
lot A minimum
Okay,
bid is,
good.
to cover our cost would be $300.
Yep,
On
okay.
lot B is a better lot, the minimum bid's $500.
The treasurer's office does that every year with certain properties. They know there's high value properties,
At least
and they
cover
know
our
there's ones
costs.
that are questionable. So they just go through and say, "Listen, we know this one's worth 100. We're setting it at 50." Like usually they're in the front of the tax book too.
So the recording costs they're variable, right, Nick?
Yeah, they primarily, well, in
There's
this
two.
situation, they're really not going to be variable, the actual reporting costs.
Okay.
4, I think. Is what that is.
It depends, it's a
Vacant lot.
vacant lot.
Or commercial. Yeah.
So you're talking, your transfer costs are around $350.
Okay. And a title search, how much would one of those cost?
Those are, $700-800.
$700 or $800
Yeah.
bucks.
And just to give you guys an example, if you were buying a property from a bank foreclosure auction, the bank would not provide you with a title search. They would say, you want one, you go get one. And I would advise in this situation, it's the same thing. That if the borrower wants the title search or a survey, or the buyer wants a title search or a survey, they do that at their expense. And they do their due diligence before they accept title of the property. That would be my recommendation on that.
Would there be a benefit to requiring that? What would be our benefit to? So what happens? Say they don't get it, and you know what I mean? Like, take me down each path.
So if they were to get the title search, and
Yeah.
there was an issue in the chain of title, they wouldn't be aware of it when they took title of the property, and they'd have to deal with it.
Like,
at that point.
Okay.
From our standpoint, I don't think we care either way. I mean, we want to get rid of the property. That's our goal. If they want to accept it with a title defect or a chance of a title defect, then they can.
And that would all be in the agreement between the city and the buyer.
It's
correct?
it's as
Okay,
is.
So making
Providing
it
it
a
as is, whereas
right, making it a requirement really wouldn't
benefit us at all.
at all. Okay, or protect us, or for
Correct.
that matter, protect our citizens, right? Like
Correct.
the person who's buying.
Yep.
Okay.
I think we had this come up recently where the house had been in the family forever, right
Correct.
next to, what is it, Boardman Park?
Boardman Park.
And there was a driveway that had been in existence, and it's not in the title. So selling it to somebody, they would see that they wouldn't own the driveway, is what essentially one example.
Okay. I like the idea of a minimum bid. I would want to make, like, any of these costs or whatever that we could have pushback on or uncertainty on. I think we should just build in and make that our minimum. You know, that's the
And
floor.
I think,
Could
we
you
could
not say
also look
plus-
at getting an
plus-
appraisal done, but we could utilize the assessor's office to give us a current valuation of the property, and we work off of that as our bidding price.
Right. No. A lot of vacant lots, just the land value, you know what I mean? If you look at a vacant lot, it's $3,600. So a lot of people aren't going to pay $3,600 for a vacant piece of land. But people are willing to pay $300 to $500, you know what I mean, depending on the lot.
Right.
And then if they have to pay the closing costs and stuff, that's just, that's something you find out about afterwards, and well, I've already signed the stuff,
If
so.
two neighbors want that yard space,
They'll split it.
they'll either split it or one will buy it. We'll pay $3,500 so the other one doesn't get it.
I did that. This lady doesn't like me on 12th Street.
Okay. Good enough.
I didn't even own a property.
Just one quick question.
At some point,
sorry.
we're going to be discussing a specific situation involving this, but I'm not prepared to do that right now. It'll be an executive session thing, I would assume, right, Nick?
Yes.
Are we having difficulties maintaining, I mean, as we are now starting to accumulate some empty lots, are we having difficulties maintaining these empty lots?
Not right now.
According to Facebook.
We were, and we own, like 14 properties like that.
Right.
But, no,
Okay.
I don't believe so, right, Bob?
I mean, it's a little easier with fewer properties. The guy who street sweeps at the end of his day, he'll look out and
Oh,
The end of his day, like 4 o'clock in the morning, end of his day, or?
no, he works 3 to 11.
Oh, okay.
okay. Good deal.
Okay.
It's a rough night.
That being said, we'll close the item A on properties, move on to discussion item. All aboard for Olean, citywide cleanup.
Yeah,
Johnny.
so, let's see here.
Did I just hear a, what's that noise?
Boop, boop, boop. That was like a device being realized by the computer.
Okay, so,
Really
this
wish you could keep up.
initiative is really kind of taking off, and I think it's, I'm very cautiously optimistic. Bill and I were reached out by an actual organization that is cleanup, National Cleanup Day. And so, as it turns out, September 21st is National Cleanup Day as well as World Cleanup Day. And this is a real non-for-profit that sponsors and coordinates, I don't want to say sponsor in the term of financial sponsorship, but that coordinates and events like what we're trying to achieve with All Aboard for Olean. So I'm working with them to not only get this event nationally recorded and recognized, but they go out and they track how many volunteers across the U.S. and across the world go out on September 21st and put forth a cleanup effort. So just to give you guys an update, really more and more organizations have stepped forward and committed to this event. So the Chamber of Commerce, Olean Business Development's Young Professional Group Bond Responds, spoke with the Superintendent of Schools, Rick Moore. Olean School Districts committed, JCC, CARES and Supportive Living, and someone reached out to you, Bill?
Yeah, the Olean Credit Union talked to me about doing a project. I recommended this project to them with their employees, so they're going to get back to me on that.
Again, the idea would be from 9 to 2, coming together and coordinating efforts. And really, I would like to try to lean on and ask, for any of the aldermen and the mayor who wants to be involved, to have some coordinative efforts. We're trying to really hit the main throughways in the city of Olean, but depending on how many people are able to participate in this really first annual event, I'd like to try to segue into the side streets as well, and branch out. Kevin, you talked to me. You've got some interesting news.
So I love this idea, and I took the ball running, and I made many phone calls within the next few days after our original meeting. Sean Dixon from Beekner Waste Services is willing to donate 4 to 6 8-yard dumpsters to place throughout the city, and he's willing to take all of the trash as well. So whatever they get filled with, he's willing to get rid of it at his cost. As well as Jason Panis from Ward 2. He owns a small automotive shop. He has a dump truck and a couple pickup trucks. He's willing to volunteer, as well as his time to drive around to the different groups that might be cleaning up to help move garbage to said dumpsters. I was working with Della and any of my buildings. We can open them up to have water for any of the volunteers and use bathroom facilities and anything like that they might need while they're out volunteering. And then lastly, I reached out to Alderman Smith. Worth W. Smith is going to donate some contractor bags. Union Sales Corporation over on South Union has offered to donate up to 4 boxes of contractor bags for whatever we need. So it's really hindered the city, minimized the city's cost exposure on this and bringing the community together. I think it's just an awesome idea. So.
Can I just piggyback on what Kevin said?
Sure.
I think the other group of people that you don't want to leave out that have been doing this year round is the litter control. And I walk through my ward. We have most of our neighborhoods covered. Like Front Street, I picked up litter there the other day. I picked up 3 pieces of garbage on the whole street because we have 3 different people that do it different times. Main Street, the hospital picks up. I even walk through the avenues, and there's not a whole heck of a lot of garbage. So my suggestion is to also expand it to doing other things. Like for instance, the one year we painted those concrete signs. We did most of them are in Ward 7. We painted those. Just the other day, Lily and I did one on Prospect. They look much better when they're painted. But other than just picking up litter, do other things. Like another good idea that several people have mentioned to me would be to get more of the weeds pulled on North Union Street. So I just wanted to throw that out about the litter control because they have how many on their list that do this year round. And I think you'd be surprised, even when I walked on Seneca, it wasn't as bad as it's been in the past years because people have been picking it up. So I would just like to maybe expand it.
And I think, it comes out to recommendations like that, Linda, and from you guys. I thought it was either Kelly or Linda, I forget, said that especially along Seneca, where the train tracks are, maybe areas that don't get walked along that do have a need. So if there are specific areas like that you could send a crew of 5 or 10 people over there to go up and down. That's a good one.
That's where that dump truck sits, right over there by the train tracks, by the way.
Yeah. So
That's
in-
farther down.
So
Right, no, but
Yeah.
it's close. I mean, so you
Not a lot
could
of people
you
are-
could get people working and
Yeah.
have him swing out on the initial run and
I
pick
don't know,
stuff
the
up. I
back
mean,
of
it's,
the mall parking lot, I don't know,
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody has
Those
ideas of areas that need
Yeah.
extra attention,
the old
let's
St.
take advantage of
Francis
this.
Hospital parking lot, right next to like the
Right.
strip mall there. A lot of semi trucks parked there.
Yeah, I'm just thinking doing more than just
Sure.
picking up trash.
And maybe
I
we
would
start
head up
that
the-
this year
the
with the
weed
trash
one.
and the cigarette butts and that, I think we'll have enough to keep ourselves busy, and then add in that.
Because
I think it's important to keep it focused too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, if we're
Right.
worrying about like,
what if we run out of stuff to clean?
I don't think
I
we
don't
will.
think-
No, I know.
We will.
I know
We
that.
can get all
I
that
think you wanna get
distracted,
too
paint
broad
things
too
and do
fast.
things and-
Right.
Yeah.
Keep it to
If anything, I think this.
cleaning event, and then you can go to the other.
Yeah, but I would just suggest looking around your wards.
Oh, yeah.
And see where you think we should focus.
I mean-
And let John know.
I mean, I do that.
Excellent point.
I do that every Sunday. Like I'll go around my rentals and I'll pick up the recycling and I kind of walk the property. And I mean, that is a good point. Just keep an eye on other things that might need to be addressed while you're out. But and the other thing is, I think the next step for this, if you were going to do anything, would be to consider doing it in the spring and then then let it progress from there. The spring cleaning, fall cleaning.
So this organization's tied in with Earth Day Network. So like what you guys were talking about last time, maybe we try to tie something into the spring for Earth Day.
Now, the other thing, and this goes along with what's gonna happen in King Street Park on the 28th, is maybe have a crew go over there and weed along the fence and just pick up around there and get it ready for the
Yeah.
28th. That could be part of what goes on in your ward.
Sure.
Just a thought.
Wanted to give you guys an update. It's going really well, and also to bounce off of that is the project coming up this Sunday, the Gargoyle Park. So, out of this discussion, Bonaventure and St. Bonaventure University, we're trying to come up with like service projects for their incoming freshmen, and so in my discussion with them, they've got 40 to 50 students who will be coming and repainting the Gargoyle Pavilion. And so, Bob, it's been power washed, correct, Mayor? The pavilion?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was power washed with some moisture, it kind of graded into the wood, so I think it's gonna need to be scraped. But with that many people, and it's not, it's a big building, but, they're gonna move fast.
Yeah.
We'll meet
It's-
tomorrow and see what.
Perfect.
I mean, that's usually what a painting crew does, anyways. I mean, we usually.
The 25th is this Sunday at 9 a.m. from like 9 to 1 at Gargoyle Park. And yes, Bob.
I was down on Hill a couple weeks ago, we were just gonna paint it the same color, I guess, that green and the kind of yellowish green, but unless anyone has.
Do we have to?
Don't you have a taupe? They say taupe is very soothing.
Well, we also want
Blend in
something
with
that.
It could blend in with
Something
the
extra.
trees and the
Yeah.
foliage, and it's better than that.
Is that kind of like a pretty brown, a taupe?
Yeah,
I
it's,
like pretty.
it's
a pretty
a couple
brown.
darker shades of
It's actually
fossil.
lighter than, a little lighter than this.
Yeah.
Forest
So
green.
Forest green's
Something-
better than.
Forest green or
Isn't it forest
pretty
green now?
brown?
Now
Like,
it's
is this
kind
a-
of
is
melon.
Or not?
It's darker than.
I told you not to
So
bring
Taupe
that
is-
up, 'cause
more
that's what
taupe
would
and a
happen.
little lighter.
Taupe looks like fossil, like if you were to
Yeah.
imagine like a fossil tan.
Yeah, when I
The
had
rocks that you pull out of the river, that are just, taupe and blends in.
So they're just taupe. You can see it, and it just says
Pretty, it's very
taupe.
soothing.
I don't know what taupe is, so.
It's
a
taupeware.
brown, it's a light brown.
Yeah.
Taupeware.
Something,
Just not that
maybe we'll talk about that offline.
green.
Yeah.
Don't you have any other color paint lying around?
Yeah, like you have something like
Yes,
color Bob's
Yes,
shirt.
discounted that color.
We do. Sherman
I mean,
Williams
we're
knows
not doing
that
the Irish
by
Festival
heart.
there anymore, so it doesn't have to be green.
I don't think that was the purpose of the
You don't,
green.
I would guess that was the purpose.
I think it was just leftover
Just
paint
for
that
a
the city
point
had.
of interest, is we've picked up 4 more volunteers to do weeding along Union Street. So
Thank goodness.
Michiko is doing a real good job of that, getting the groups together and so.
Yeah,
So we picked up Solatoxy who's doing it.
good.
Just it was on Union Street. It was the parents' education thing. What is it now?
Oh, it's
Still
Pep.
there.
It's Pep.
Yeah.
Pip,
Peppa.
There's
parents.
some
Something like
there.
that.
There's another one right in that area too. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But they're going to do it, and then a couple other just individuals came in and wanted to volunteer, so.
That's good. Just warn them if they go by the curb. My
What?
partner and I were doing Pizza Hut and the police stopped because someone told them that we were too close to the curb, so
We're getting,
we got our little vests, so make sure
We're
they
getting prices
wear
and,
some.
good prices now on their best for
Yeah, we have ours.
volunteers, so.
Good, that's great. The more the better.
Yes,
So before are we done with the cleanup thing?
Yeah.
Before we go into adjournment or whatever, Bob did have some stuff. So Mr. Bob Ring had some breaking news
Breaking.
that he wanted to
Exciting
review with us.
breaking
Bob,
news?
you wanna?
What'd you break, Bob?
No, it's good news. I handed out two different things. Eventually, both of them will lead to a resolution of some kind, but the first one is the LED conversion that we spoke about a number of different times. We sent them a letter of intent after discussing with you all, and they sent back some additional data, including an estimated cost, an estimated incentive, which is the return to us. On the third page is some quoting material. Most of our roadway luminaires are 100 watt. I circled two of them. And the conversion to LED is 25 watts for the same candle power. So each light is a savings of $26 per light. There's 1,300 of them, so we're talking about converting every light that's on a national grid pole. Multiply, 1,289 poles by the average net book value, 927. Our cost is $12,000. And then in incentive, the cost back to us is $70,840. I'm still trying to find out what the catch is, but it seems to be true. But I actually specifically asked our contact, if those were the numbers, and he said yes. So we passed a resolution on Tuesday. We can move forward with it. Talk time frame, and assuming you're all open to it.
So we make $68,000 roughly. We make 50 grand, and then we cut our electric bill into to quarters, not pay roughly.
Well, yeah.
So Bob, this is the whole city where there's still the outdated ones?
Yeah, if you look at on the first page, they chart the quantity and description. That's the wattage on the right side, and then the number of each luminaire.
Oh, I see it, okay.
The 25 watt will be the standard too, Bob.
Gotcha.
The what?
The 25 watt will be standard across the board.
47 residential.
Was it
48.
Or 48. Yeah.
48?
Yeah, so actually, I labeled that incorrectly, so I apologize. So the 48 watts would be the ones that would be the full switch. So it'd be 122 versus 112.63.
No.
Sorry about that.
Just thought we were knocking it from 100 watts to 25 watts. Okay, so we wouldn't not use
so
our
I thought
wattage in
I
half.
thought we used the 48 and
Good catch.
the ones that we've
That's-
done so far.
Yeah.
They're still not bad though. The catch is that there's no such thing as a free lunch. So the federal government that initiates all these tax credits to National Grid to give to us is where the money. That's where the catch is. Rather us than somebody else, right?
Anything else?
The second sheet is for bids from Washington Street Water Line. Just to summarize, the low bid was $1,086,700. Lakeshore Paving is the suspected low bidder. We're still looking and reviewing, but most of that's completed. We're recommending to award to Lakeshore. Tuesday, I guess, we would hope that would be on for resolution. Our engineer's estimate was $1.3 million. So there's a $214,000 contingency, which is great because we built 15% contingency into our estimate. And then down at the bottom, item number 48 free is field change payment. As you see it in the bid now, you kind of see it in action, that items that go over, you know, are kind of eaten up by field change payment. An itemized bid like this with 43 different items, you know, there's an expectation that some of these will go over. We'll of course track that through change orders and communication with you all.
So what, from a budgetary standpoint then, Bob, what would that end up looking like? So it's been, what'd you say, 1.3 was budgeted?
Yes.
And so does that number that you built into the budget, how much did you build in for contingency? 50?
15%.
15%. So would that, from a budgetary standpoint, that number just grow?
Meaning, you mean our contingency is larger than anticipated?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I think that's the answer to your question.
Okay. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, we still try to get the project done for as little as possible and
Yes.
enroll an extra $170,000 back.
Yeah,
in.
sure, that's definitely a goal, right? Bring project under budget on time, but, you know, that's our number one priority.
Sure.
I mean, I'd like to have that contingency available for the project. I think there's gonna be, I think, transparency through our reporting view, but especially with like blacktop and things like that. Items to go over, gravel is hard to track, it's hard to estimate. We're trying to be safe on it, but, things come up, things are uncovered underground that we don't know about. Relatively quickly over a period of time. Just like I've said on, say, North Union Street or other projects, 10% is not uncommon to go over, even based on a safe estimate.
Okay. Well, that's great news. Oh, I was going to ask, what is their relationship with, what's their, you do a background check on these people? What's their...
We work with them before
Okay.
every constructed work you have, they do all our paving every
Okay.
year. They have to come with, so.
Which one's that, Lakeshore paving?
Yeah, they're out of Jamestown. On the other side of Jamestown.
What's a high max coupling? Is that a brand?
Yeah, it's,
Smoke-free jump sites.
I think it's a
hard, hard to take. Yeah, I don't know the name right.
What's it?
Okay. 4 inches that.
Yeah, Lakeshore Drive.
Is that all for the
We
contract?
we already purchased all the material.
Oh,
We got an LSD cruise on Lakeshore Drive. Which works places.
Cool. Anything else? Bob, you good?
Yeah.
Anyone have anything else strategic planning related? Okay.
Before we move into-
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Witt. Got it.